Welcome back. Well, many Americans say they want to remain in their own homes as they age, but most aren't preparing their homes to accommodate their changing needs. So this morning we have Derieck Hodges here to talk about how that can impact their future. Derieck, thanks so much for joining us. So I could imagine that it can be hard to change up your lifestyle, especially when you've become so accustomed to it. But figuring out those next steps are super important. So what really needs to be done first?
Yeah, I think I love the framing of choice and control. Most of us love to have lots of choices, and we love to remain in control. And if you think about it, baby boomers, the second largest group of Americans, are all going to be over the age of 65 in the year 2030. That's a lot of Americans who are getting older.
Yeah.
And even if you take good care of yourself, there's a good chance you might need some help to live life as you get older.
Yeah.
So just think of it as a goal. Think of it as anything else that you would spend money on. What would you need to do to maintain independence, choice, and control?
And you know, for some people, they aren't always able to stay in their own homes for, until the end of their time. They may have to go to long-term care or assisted living, and those aren't necessarily cheap, but how can people plan for that?
Yeah, so I think a couple things. Whether you want to stay in your home or go somewhere else, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
And then say, what do I need to do to make that work? So if it's your home, what type of improvements do I need to make to my home to maintain independence longer?
Right.
And if I think I can't do that, let's just say it's not practical for me to remain at home, investigate what type of care facilities there are, and then what do those cost? Today it costs somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $6,000 a month for certain types of care facilities. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is, and that's something you definitely have to plan for. I feel like that's not something that you can just say, okay, I'm going to go here, unless you are prepared for that. But is there a way that insurance could help maybe cover these costs?
Yeah, this is where it's a little bit of a tricky landscape. So think about Medicare. That's the program for people usually over the age of 65. It does pay for some of that type of care, but in very specific situations. You have to be making progress on a recovery. I break my hip, I need some rehab for a while, that will qualify. But if I just never make improvement, at some point Medicare is done.
Right.
Medicaid, the care program for more impoverished Americans, will pay for that. The concern I have is a lot of people who actually have financial means will do things to try to qualify for Medicaid, and they can do that. Certainly you can make, transfer assets and all those things. What I would challenge folks to think about is the Medicaid facility, the system we have today, is already stressed. As people get older, that system's going to continue to get more stressed. Not so sure it's going to look the same as it does today. And then there's private insurance. It can be very expensive, and a lot of people have had bad experiences with long-term care, but a lot of people have had great experiences. So you have to really do a lot of investigation on the different kinds of policies that are out there.
Yeah, and if something unexpected happens and you're unable to make those decisions, I'd imagine that getting a power of attorney is probably pretty beneficial.
Crucial. I generally would say anybody over the age of 18, all the way through the end of your life, you'll need a durable power of attorney, because at some point there's a good chance you're not going to be able to make your decisions. And so those are the important documents that you need for somebody else to step in and help you.
And that's just something to get done probably sooner rather than later. Don't wait until you're over 65 to figure that out.
Today's a good day.
Exactly. And now let's talk a little bit about estate planning. When it comes to estate planning, that's super important to get all of that figured out in terms of all of this as well.
Totally. So, I think what you hit on there, the durable power of attorney, awfully important. But then also, while you're in that kind of thought process, I think it's a great idea to just sit and think, well, what happens with all of my money at the end of my life? How do I want that to go? Do I want it to go to charity? Do I want it to go to family? And there's definitely better ways to do that avoid cost, taxes, probate court costs, those kind of things.
I feel like when it comes to this topic and figuring out kind kind of what's next for aging and all of that, there's a lot of planning and a lot of research that really just needs to be done.
Absolutely. And the nice thing is there's a lot of great resources out there to get a lot of different ideas.
Yeah. Well, Derrick, thank you so much for joining us on The Breakfast Show, too. I hope you guys learned something out there, and I hope you start to make those plans and do that research. We'll be back in just a bit.